So Nintendo just had their recent fiscal meeting where they actually talked about their sales of Switch 2 and the software for the beginning of 2026 so far, and we learned a lot. The Switch 2 is still selling like hotcakes, and it's still an extremely popular console for its first year, but with that said, we're starting to see a drop-off, especially with software sales. If you look at the Q4 2025 going into Q1 of 2026, it's a huge drop-off for a lot of these games. Nintendo's hand was also pushed by investors to raise the price of Switch 2 in order to combat costs. And so far, this has only seemed to make things worse for Nintendo's stock so far. It's down 45% as of right now and down 9% from the past year. And Nintendo's getting really close to reaching a new lowest point in the last 5 years. In the grand scheme of things, this doesn't mean too much right now because Nintendo has made so much money with the Switch 1. I mean, they could probably last until 2060 with how much money they made. And I think you can see this comfortability that Nintendo's in because they don't feel pressured to reveal anything or announce anything in the way that we thought they would. Like, they haven't had a Nintendo Direct since last September. They're slowly drip feeding information out to us, and they still haven't really announced a next huge title for Nintendo. Now, Nintendo has actually come out and briefly talked about some of this stuff. For instance, they even came out and apologized to fans. In a recent interview, Furukawa states, "We sincerely apologize to our customers for the considerable inconvenience and trouble this will cause," when talking about the price hikes. While we wanted to prioritize a wide adoption, it was challenging to bear the rising costs over a long period. The new pricing does not fully account for all cost increases. He then goes on to state, "Due to efforts to strengthen our supply chain, the first year sales reached an unprecedented level. The demand in the second year is firm, and we believe that the adoption of Switch 2 is progressing smoothly." And he also states, "Nintendo will prepare a robust software lineup to enhance the Switch 2 ownership value. We will work diligently to overcome this barrier." Another thing Furukawa mentioned is how the company is aiming for the Nintendo Switch 2 to have a similar lifespan as the original Nintendo Switch system. He says that they aim to do this by building up the system's user base and growing hardware and software sales over time. Like, no duh, that's how you do it. But Furukawa also talks about the second half of the fiscal year and his plans, stating, "Ideally, we would like to deliver new titles more frequently and in a more timely manner. But as you pointed out, the software development period has become longer than before. Even so, we will continue to work on various initiatives to ensure that many titles can be played on Nintendo Switch 2 by improving our development system and development process. Looking ahead, we are preparing a variety of new titles for the Nintendo Switch 2, regardless of whether they are considered major titles or not. Furthermore, for the second half of the fiscal year, we have new titles in addition to those already announced, and we will provide details in the appropriate time." So yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, but overall, Nintendo is pretty much saying that they apologize for raising the price of Switch 2, which thankfully they gave us a 3-month heads up, almost 4 months, because it's not happening until September, going up from $450 to $500. But yeah, Nintendo's pretty much saying that they are working on a bunch of games. Now you might look at this and say, obviously this is just corporate talk from Nintendo. They're gonna say that every single time, but they normally don't even mention like they have upcoming games, especially saying, hey, we have more games coming for the second half of this year. We'll announce them at the right time. Like, they've never really done that. And for them to say that, it feels like a sort of back against a wall situation for them again, where they're like, you know what, sales are starting to drop and decline. We're starting to see, you know, our stocks plummet, and obviously investors are not happy, so we got to start getting some information out. Because they normally do something like this when they are kind of desperate to get some information out to get people happy again. Like, I remember they announced the Switch 2 Direct like 3 months before it even happened, just to get hype, and they also announced a Switch 1 Direct as well a month before it. So yeah, I'm saying at first I was not really even feeling a summer direct, but after the recent reports and stuff that's come in, I think it's all but inevitable for them to have a big June Nintendo Direct now. But all over the internet right now, you'll see people overblowing this in one direction or another. You'll see people saying that Nintendo is doomed forever for some reason, and then you'll also see people saying that Nintendo is perfectly fine, that there's absolutely no problem, or they'll blame the excuse on anything else than Nintendo. No, Nintendo isn't doomed, and also, no, this isn't just outside factors. This also relies on what Nintendo's been doing as well, because as much as you guys hate to admit it, and by you guys I mean hard, dedicated Nintendo fans like myself, These games that are coming out aren't appealing to the mass market. No, it's not just me that really wants a Smash Brothers, a Luigi's Mansion 4, a 3D Mario. It's the general public. It's people that want to spend $450 and now $500 on a new console. And with the Switch 2 being $500 this holiday, you really have to have some major software to justify this. I don't know why this is such a hard concept for a lot of people to grasp. Yes, of course, the current economy and tariffs have a lot to do with it, but for goodness sake, software that Nintendo's pumping out is just lacking that major title still. I will say Nintendo has a very strong, consistent lineup since the release of Switch 2, where every month we are getting a new title, whether it be for Switch 1 and Switch 2 or just a Switch 2 exclusive. But just because we're getting a new game every month, as you can tell, 90% of these new games are spin-offs of mainline games or Switch 2 editions or even just a remake of an older game. I'm sorry, but if you're seeing stuff like Mario Kart World start to drop off, which is funny because it's also right when the bundle was taken away, so you're seeing not too many people anymore are buying Mario Kart World as they were originally, or Donkey Kong Bonanza, only the second biggest Switch 2 game to come out, and also a game made by the Odyssey team, a 3D Donkey Kong game already losing most of its legs. And even though the sales are good for a Kirby Racing spin-off sequel from the GameCube, yeah, those sales are starting to plummet as well. And if we're seeing that happen to these games, I can tell you the games coming out still for the rest of this year are not going to do anything crazy. And that's the problem. It's good that Nintendo has a lot of options and at least something to play every single month, but they're still lacking major titles. I mean, every 4 or 5 months, we should be seeing a major title from Nintendo, right? And as much as I'm really praying that Star Fox does really well, it's still just a remake of the Nintendo 64 game, which retells the same story for the 4th time. And if the recent rumors from Nin10doland are anything to be believed, which they should be, because he was spot on pretty much with Star Fox, then we're also getting a remake of The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, another Nintendo 64 game. So yes, I still think that game is going to sell like crazy. It's one of the best games of all time, so of course it will, but still, it's a remake again, and it makes you question, where are the big first-party original titles? Where's that Smash Brothers? Where's that 3D Mario? You know what I mean? That's what people are really looking for when they're going into buying a $450, now almost $500 console. So instead of just complaining about what Nintendo's doing right now, we should be talking about what Nintendo needs to be doing. What can Nintendo do to completely turn this whole idea of them failing and this whole stock situation on its head? Honestly, it's as simple and easy as it gets. Nintendo needs to have a big June Nintendo Direct. That's it. They need to have a big show this summer that showcases everything that's coming for the rest of this year and things to even get excited about for the beginning of next year. So let's just say I'm in Nintendo's seat now. With everything they've already announced so far for this summer, how do they finish out the rest of this year and how do they prepare us for next year? Well, if I'm having a June Direct, this is how it goes. The Direct starts with Zelda's 40th anniversary celebration, the same way they did with the last one with Mario's anniversary. There's a bunch of stuff coming for the anniversary, whether it be old games as ports or stuff, or to NSO, so a couple smaller things, maybe things outside of the game world, like maybe even a glimpse of the movie, something to get us excited for Zelda, and then they finish it off with Zelda's Ocarina of Time remake. They put it down as one of the big holiday games this year in either September, October, or November, and it just looks beautiful. At the halfway mark of the Nintendo Direct, we see that Nintendo is working on a new Luigi's Mansion game, and it's coming out this holiday as well. Once again, probably around October, and it's going to be Luigi's Mansion 4. It looks bigger, better, and greater than ever, and it's one of the big holiday titles for Nintendo. Accompanied with this and Zelda, you've got a stellar lineup for this holiday. Now, they could also fill the show with a bunch of smaller things as well. For instance, Star Fox doesn't come out until the end of June, and according to the website, there's still some more information that they want to share with this game, so they should probably do that within the next general Nintendo Direct. They could just have a 1 to 2 minute segment where they talk more about the game and what else is coming to it. Rhythm Heaven Groove is also not coming out until July, so they can touch on this a little bit as well. And there's still a lot more that we need to learn about Splatoon Raiders, which also comes out in July, so this would also be a good little segment to learn more about the game. We still haven't even gotten an update on Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave since its announcement last September during the Nintendo Direct, and if all things are going according to what Nin10doland has already kind of leaked, he said this summer we'll have a new Star Fox, Splatoon Raiders, and Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave release, and he's already got 2 of the 3 correct. so I would assume Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave is probably for sure going to be an August game, so they can definitely show off more of this game during the Direct as well. And what's so crazy about this is it still leaves room for even more announcements if Nintendo doesn't do it soon via just a Twitter drop. For instance, Nate the Hate said something Switch Sports is going to happen, whether it's a new title like a Switch 2 Sports or Switch Sports Resort, or it could just be a Switch 2 edition of Switch Sports, which would suck, but whatever. And apparently a Switch 2 edition of Pikmin 4 is coming as well. Look at how many games Nintendo can have from this list alone. And there's still other rumors out there saying stuff like a brand new Wario Land is coming in 2027, a brand new Super Metroid Pixel remake, a Metroid 6, Mario Kart World DLC, 3D Mario, and potentially even a second Star Fox game more adventures-like. And this isn't even talking about all the third-party games that can be announced during the show as well. This can genuinely be one of the best shows Nintendo has ever had. And we're not even talking about the last announcement yet, which of course should be 3D Mario. If 3D Mario is indeed coming next year, like Nate the Hate said, he claimed that apparently it was supposed to be a holiday game this year, but it got pushed back to next year. I don't care, show us. This is the type of stuff that investors are looking for. They're looking for that next big major game in a major franchise that the general population are going to be excited about. And that is either Smash or 3D Mario right now. This June Nintendo Direct absolutely has to end with a 3D Mario or Smash Brothers level of reveal to keep the hype going for Switch 2. Even if it's not coming until next year, show us, because next year could have a 3D Mario, a brand new gen of Pokemon, plus tons of other stuff as well. I mean, come on, this is how you set things up. Then continue this momentum into the September Direct, where you talk more on the games that are coming out in 2027, touch more on that 3D Mario and other big things that are coming, like maybe the next Smash Brothers or whatever you have in the pipeline, and keep the hype continued. It is absolutely awesome to have a game every single month, even if it's a smaller spin-off title or even a remake, but you should also always have a major AAA first-party game in the lineup scheduled that people know about. I know some people don't like what Nintendo did with Tears of the Kingdom and even Breath of the Wild, lots of their 3D Zelda games where they announce it years in advance and it keeps getting delayed and it ends up taking 3 to 4 years after the announcement. I don't care. I find it interesting because you always know that the next Direct is going to bring you news on that new Smash Brothers or news on that new Zelda game. So I don't mind being announced early. I don't mind knowing about a 3D Mario that may not be coming out until the beginning or middle of next year. And this is the stuff that casual fans and investors want to see right now. Shoot, let's take it a step further. I would even tease the next mainline Zelda game there in the anniversary section, whether it just be a, little screenshot of one of the areas in the new game, or just something with a development cycle, what the new game is going to look like, its art style, maybe just a small animated cutscene that they made just to show us what the next game is going to look like, something to maybe tease the next Zelda game, even though it's still going to be a very long time. It's something to say, hey, I'm glad I got a Switch 2. I know that this Zelda game is coming. I know that this 3D Mario is coming, and there's tons of stuff to play while I wait for them. That is what Nintendo needs to do, and I promise you after the June Direct, their stock and their pretty much word of mouth is going to increase tenfold. I know we always hear the same joke that most Nintendo fans just like Mario and Zelda and that's it, but it's true. A lot of fans out there really just buy new Nintendo consoles for the big names, and that's fine. I don't see nothing wrong with that. If you're the type of person that does that, cool. But when Nintendo's price hike coming to raise the console up to $500, they're really going to have to sell why people would want to buy this console, especially at $50 more. And I think the only way to do that right now is to have a massive June Nintendo Direct. And I think Nintendo could do it. They just have to do it. You know what I mean? Stop skipping general Nintendo Directs. It's time to lock in. Now, I also thought I'd end this video by preparing you for what could be happening this week. Apparently, according to rumors, there could be a partner Nintendo Direct either this week, next week, sometime really soon. So if you see a partner Direct, don't bang your head on the wall in disgust because it surprised you. I'm trying to prepare you for that now. But yeah, it seems like there might be a partner Direct coming soon, which, still folds to what Nate the Hate said, where he claims that there's not going to be any major Direct until June. So we still have to wait a little while longer potentially, but I feel like the time for big reveals is almost among us. We are almost there. Just be a little bit more patient. But let me know what you guys think. Are we getting a major general Nintendo Direct soon, or is Nintendo saying, nope, we're just going to keep getting Twitter drops and that's how we get our information? Is Nintendo about to build the hype back up? Let me know what you think. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out, and I hope you all have a blessed day. See you guys.